A woman noticed something impossible at her husband's grave. She hid a camera to find the truth, but what she saw broke her heart all over again. 3 years after her husband Leo passed away, Clara still visited his grave every single day. One morning she arrived and saw a single perfect white rose resting on his headstone. A rose she hadn't left there. It happened again the next day, and the day after that. She thought it might be the kind groundskeepers, but when she asked them, they were just as confused. They said they never place personal items on the graves. Worried and a little scared, Clara bought a tiny hidden camera and tucked it into a bush overlooking the site, desperate to understand what was happening. For the first few nights, the footage was empty, just wind and shadows in the moonlight. But on the fourth night, something finally happened. A figure appeared on the screen, walking slowly toward the grave. What the camera revealed was unbelievable. Clara leaned closer to her laptop screen, her heart pounding in her chest. She watched the camera footage every night before bed, a ritual born from a mix of grief, confusion, and a desperate need for answers. Most of the time, the graveyard was still and silent, a quiet landscape of stone and memory. But this evening, just as the sun began to set, casting long golden rays across the cemetery, something strange happened. A small figure appeared on the screen. It was a young boy, maybe 10 years old, with a worn-out backpack slung over his shoulder. He walked with a quiet purpose, his small frame moving between the tombstones until he reached Leo's grave. Clara held her breath. The boy knelt down, his movements slow and careful. From his backpack, he pulled out a single fresh white rose. He gently placed it on the headstone, right in the center, his small hands lingering for a moment. Then he bowed his head. Clara couldn't hear what he said, but his lips moved as if in a quiet prayer. He didn't leave right away. He took a small cloth from his pocket and began to carefully wipe away the dust and fallen leaves from the inscription of Leo's name. He treated the gravestone not as a cold piece of rock, but as something precious, something deserving of care. After a few minutes, he stood up, gave the grave one last respectful look, and then walked away, disappearing into the growing twilight. Clara was speechless, her mind racing. Who was this boy? And why was he tending to her husband's grave with such devotion? She had never seen him before. Leo had been a high school history teacher. She didn't recall him ever mentioning a student this young. The mystery only deepened, and her heart ached with a new, unfamiliar emotion. The next day, Clara went to the cemetery much earlier than usual. She sat on a bench nearby, hidden from view, waiting. Sure enough, just before sunset, she saw the boy again. He was walking the same path, carrying his backpack. As he knelt to place the rose, Clara stood up and walked toward him, her steps soft on the grass. "Hello," she said gently, not wanting to frighten him. The boy jumped, his eyes wide with alarm, and he quickly stood up as if to run. "It's okay," Clara said quickly, holding up a hand. "I'm not mad. I'm Leo's wife." She gave him a kind, reassuring smile. I wanted to thank you for the flowers. They're beautiful." The boy looked down at his worn-out sneakers, his shoulders tense. He was silent for a long moment. "Why do you do it?" Clara asked softly. Finally, he looked up, his dark eyes shining with unshed tears. "Mr. Leo, he was my friend," the boy whispered, his voice trembling. "He taught me things." Clara's brow furrowed in confusion. "Taught you what, sweetie?" "How to read," the boy said, his voice a little stronger now. "My family, we don't have a lot of money. I wasn't doing good in school. Mr. Leo saw me in the library one day. He started helping me. Every week he'd meet me and bring me books. He told me stories about history and heroes. He said I was smart, and that I could be a hero too." Tears began to stream down Clara's face as the boy's story tumbled out. "He gave me this," the boy said, pulling a well-loved, dog-eared copy of Treasure Island from his backpack. "It was the first book I ever finished by myself. He was the only one who believed in me." Clara knelt down and wrapped her arms around the small boy, hugging him tightly as she sobbed. Leo, her quiet, humble Leo, had been a secret mentor, a silent force of good in this young boy's life, and he had never said a word. He never stopped talking about how much he loved his wife, the boy added quietly. He said you were his greatest treasure. In that moment, Clara's grief transformed. Leo wasn't just a memory preserved in stone. His kindness was alive, living and breathing in this child. She knew what she had to do. A few weeks later, Clara, with the help of the young boy Sam, started a small foundation in her husband's name, the Leo Project. It was a free after-school tutoring program for underprivileged kids, housed in the very same library where Leo had first met Sam. She filled it with books, with patient tutors, and with the same belief that Leo had shown, that every child deserved a chance to be a hero. Michael's pain had turned into a purpose. Helping these kids made him feel close to Emily. Her kindness didn't stop when she passed. It lived on through him. Michael's pain had turned into a purpose. Helping these kids made him feel close to Emily. Her kindness didn't stop when she passed. It lived on, a legacy of love that continued to bloom, just like the white roses on her husband's grave.